side of things this weekend, February 4th, Bellator 290 Bader. Did I say that right? Bader versus Fedor 2. Fedor. Before we get into, I think we're going to break down how many fights we got here. I think three. Yes. Once again, any fights or fighters that you guys want to quickly spotlight for our viewers?
This main card is kind of a beast here.
Yeah, so they're only calling 3 fights the main card. I'm not sure why that is. I know this is on CBS, so maybe it was it's only a 2-hour window, so they did 3 fights, something along those lines.
Oh my God!
I don't know if the undercard's on CBS, but it's 9 p.m. on CBS, so at least on Saturday night we can watch this one since we can't watch the UFC. But they tried to go pretty big, and the prelims have names throughout. Jalen Bates versus Jornel Lugo is a really nice bantamweight fight early on the card. Darian Caldwell is back fighting. He's fighting Nikita Mikhailov, which is a solid fight. Grant Neal and Carl Albrechtsen is a solid light heavyweight scrap of guys who have done some really solid things in their careers. Steve Mowry's back. He's fighting Ali Isaev. Lorenz Larkin and Muhammad Berkhamov, which that fight already happened. I actually forget. There was some foul that ended that fight, so they're doing it again. Neiman Gracie's on the card. He's fighting Dante Shiro. I'm not exactly sure why that's the matchup, but he's on there. So there's a lot of names. Oh, I skipped over Henry Corrales fighting Ahmed Magomedov. There's a lot of names that are worth tuning into on these prelims. So Bellator went pretty deep. And sorry, Omar, if you wanted to highlight any of these, and I kind of just listed them all, but go ahead.
You definitely did. It's totally fine. This is actually one of the better Bellator cards, I think, from top to bottom that they've had in a little bit. So I'm actually pretty excited to watch not just the main card, but actually all of the prelims too.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be good.
Okay. Well, let us hop into it. Our first fight we're going to break down is Sabah Homasi versus Brennan Ward. So let's see. Homasi, the sleek chic, the 34-year-old, fighting out of East Brunswick, New Jersey. 17-10 as a pro, coming off back-to-back wins under the Bellator banner. Brennan Ward, Irish Brennan Ward, 34 years old, out of Waterford, Connecticut. 16-6 as a pro, also coming off back-to-back wins. Omar, why don't you take this fight first? Give us your quick pick.
MMA is a fucked up sport, isn't it? If you told me Sabah Homasi was going to be one of these big guys in Bellator and was going around wrecking people in Bellator and shit after having watched him in the UFC, I would have told you you're out of your goddamn mind. And yet, it's 2023, and here we are talking about Sabah Homasi because he just goes out there and wrecks people in Bellator, and it's absolutely fantastic. I would argue there's no other sport in the world where somebody kind of sucks one day and is like really fucking good the next. I've never seen it in any other sport. With that being said, Brennan Ward is not a slouch. This is not an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination. This will be a scrap from bell to bell. I don't think as both of these guys are finishers, but I think as much as many finishes as both these guys have, I don't think they're going to be able to finish each other. I do think this is going to go the full 15 minutes, and I will say Sabah Homasi walks away with the decision. Yes, unanimous.
Yes.
Okay. A little wider than I thought. Sabah's the favorite at minus 195. Brennan Ward is plus 160. I love this matchup. This is the matchup that I asked for after their last fights. I just said they both fucking go in there and bang every time. Can we put them in there together? And Bellator must have had the same thought, so I love that. This is going to be fireworks for as long as it lasts. It has the potential to be the craziest fight of this whole weekend if they do what they usually do. They're basically the same size. The reach is the same. Homasi's taller by 2 inches. There's really not a lot to break down here. Like, these guys just go in there looking to hurt someone. I guess Brennan Ward could always wrestle, but I'd also guess that's not going to be in the cards on Saturday. I think they both come out swinging. And I think Sabah may be the one who's a bit slicker out of the two. So I'm going to say that he's going to be the one who lands a good big shot first, and that Ward is the one who's hurt first. But Homasi has had a tendency to get a little bit wild and a little bit reckless when he hurts you. And that's kind of where Brennan Ward lives. So I don't know if this is the fact that I've kind of always been a fan of Brennan Ward and that I'm happy to see him back, but I'm just envisioning that happening. You know, Brennan Ward gets stung. He stays in it. He starts throwing back. Homasi opens up a little bit too much trying to end it, and Brennan Ward is actually the one who finishes the thing. So give me Brennan Ward, round 2 knockout.
Dude, I'm a Brennan Ward guy. I like Brennan Ward. I think he's a fucking stud. 16 wins, 11 knockouts on his record. Add 4 subs to that. He's got a lot of firepower, and I like him in this matchup against Homasi. Even though Homasi obviously has that, UFC pedigree in his background. And like Omar said, he's coming to Bellator and he's doing work. I'm going with Brennan Ward in this matchup. I think he's going to knock him out. I'm going to say round 2.
Real quick, where the fuck did Brennan Ward go? Because I see a big gap here from 2017 to 2022, and all of a sudden he comes back and he's laying people the fuck out. So where did he go?
Completely strung out on drugs and had to have interventions from family and friends and got his life back together.
But he's a stud.
So he was on drugs while he was fighting professionally like that?
Probably.
I think it started in his last couple fights and then got bad during all the time that he was off. I think that's why he was off, because it got bad.
And then did rehab and then came back?
I believe, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, now I kind of want Brennan Ward to win. I mean, dude, first of all, to come back at all to that sport after taking that much time off because of something that essentially debilitates your body, like I can't imagine the drugs were doing any kind of service to his body. So to come back, work your way back up to a point where your body is capable of fighting, and then taking a fight and fucking winning by TKO twice.
Yep.
It's pretty goddamn crazy to me personally. But
yeah, for sure. I thought he had just retired until he came back, and it was when he came back that Bellator did like kind of a little special on it, where he sort of was talking about what he had been through, and it was pretty crazy.
I gotta look that up after we're done. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, let's move on. Next fight, Johnny Eblen versus Anatoly Tokov. So Eblen, Diamond Hands, undefeated, 12-0, 8-0 under the Bellator banner. He's 31 years old, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida. 5 knockouts, 1 sub added to that. Most recently coming off of his unanimous decision victory against Gegard Mousasi. He will be standing across another very formidable opponent in Anatoly Tokov, the 32-year-old out of Russia. He's 5'10", 31 wins, 2 defeats, 17 knockouts, 7 submission victories on his record. He's riding a 7-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Mark, let's start with you. Give us your assessment and your pick of this fight.
Yeah, I will go ahead and say this is probably the highest level fight happening this entire weekend, and it has absolutely zero buzz. Johnny Eblen's the favorite. He's minus 250. Anatoly Tokov is plus 210. I guess maybe the zero buzz is because it kind of came together late. This was originally supposed to be Vadim Nemkov and Yoel Romero in this co-main event spot, and then when that fell apart, they kind of scrambled and had Eblen and Tokov get on here so they could have another big fight on this CBS card. But this is a big fight. Anatoly Tokov, in my opinion, as I've said plenty of times on this show, has been the second best middleweight in Bellator for a while behind Gegard Mousasi, and just for some reason that I couldn't really understand was not getting a title shot. I guess now you'd have to say he's the third best after what Johnny Eblen just did to Mousasi, but point remains. But yeah, he's been due for a title shot for a while, and now his day finally comes. Only thing is, instead of it coming against Mousasi, who he maybe could have looked to work some wrestling and grappling advantages against, considering how well-rounded Tokov is, it comes against a guy in Johnny Eblen who may be even more well-rounded than Tokov. So I think it's definitely a tougher matchup stylistically for him. It kind of takes away some of the advantages that he could have tried to play, because as Johnny Eblen has showed us, he can do it all. He even showed it all within that one single Musasi fight. You know, he's dangerous everywhere this fight goes. So I'll be really interested to see where Tokov looks to fight this fight. Like, does he still believe he's the better grappler, even though Eblen has the wrestling credentials that he has? Does he just look to strike because he probably is kind of the cleaner striker there, and he maybe, I mean, statistically speaking, he carries the bigger knockout power for sure. But Eblen has kind of been teasing some pretty big power himself. Like, it looks like some of his shots land pretty big. So I don't know. It's tough to. I just feel like I haven't seen enough of Johnny Eblen to like have a great sense. Like, we just saw this. I mean, we saw him against John Salter, but before Salter, it was nobody's, and then it was John Salter. Okay, and then it was just this crazy performance against Gegard Mousasi. So I'm kind of like, I don't know how to evaluate Johnny Eblen perfectly at this point. He's bigger. He's 3 inches taller. He'll have a 1-inch reach, so not huge. It's tough to pick. It's tough to pick. Before seeing that Mousasi fight, I would have picked Tokov in this fight. I've been a fan of Tokov's game. But after seeing what Eblen just did, it's really hard to pick against him. So I do think this is going to be close. Tokov's very good. If he could ever get on top, he's super heavy on top. He has big ground and pound. I just don't know if he can get there on Eblen or if he could maintain top control on Eblen. So I guess I'm going to go Eblen here. He's never lost. He just showed so much in that Mousasi fight. I do trust his cardio more than I trust Tokov's, and this is a 5-rounder. So I'll say that Eblen maybe takes it over more as the fight goes later, and that his wrestling becomes more effective then. So I'll say 48-47 Johnny Eblen, but I think it's a close, hard-fought fight.
Okay, Omar, take it.
So I think that breakdown was pretty clear. I think the one thing for me, I do think Tokov is more well-rounded. And maybe that's because we haven't seen enough from Eblen. That's a really good point. It's hard not to ignore what he did to Mousasi, though. I mean, there's not a ton of people who can say they've dominated Gegard Mousasi in a fight, but he carries that around with him now. Tokov is a beast, though, and he has more than double the experience when it comes to mixed martial arts competition. We could argue the resume. I don't know fucking any of these people, really, on his record. But at the end of the day, he's wrecking people. Like, these aren't even like decisions. Like, he is wrecking people left and right on his resume. So, I would need, like Mark said, I would need to see more of Johnny Eblen, see really what his full game is against somebody of this caliber. And I don't really have enough information on him to really make that decision on his side. So I'm going to go with Tokov, man. I'm going to go with Tokov. I'll give Johnny Eblen the benefit of the doubt that he's tough enough to get through the fight. But it just seems like to me Tokov would have an answer to anything that Johnny Eblen would have to offer. So I'm going to go with Tokov by decision, unanimous.
So you both have gone decision here. I'm going to be the one who goes out on a limb. I think Johnny Eblen runs into a massive test in Tokov and comes up short this time. And I think he gets his first knockout loss at the hands of the man who finishes more than half of his fights. I'm going to say that he knocks him out. I'll say round 2.
Damn, now I feel like I'm jealous that you guys both pulled the trigger on Tokov and I didn't. When I've been fucking saying for 2 years that he should be getting a title shot. All right. I like it. I'll tell you what, imagine Tokov is a Fedor guy. Imagine he wins the belt and then Fedor wins the belt. That'd be a hell of a night.
That'd be cool. That'd be very cool. All right. Moving right along to the main event of the evening. Bader, Fedor 2. So these two fought back in January of 2019 with Ryan Bader defeating Fedor Emelianenko by TKO in round number 1 at the 35-second mark.
Yeah.
So, real quick, Bader, the 39-year-old out of Tempe, Arizona, 30 wins, 7 defeats, 1 no contest. Of his 30 victories, we have 12 by knockout. Add 3 subs to that. Fedor wins many points. Speaking of greatest ever, if and when we have the greatest ever either men debate or greatest ever heavyweights debate, Fedor certainly will have many, many points on our lists. Fedor is the 46-year-old out of Russia, 40 wins, 6 defeats, 1 no contest, 16 knockouts, 15 submission victories. He is coming off back-to-back wins over Quinton Rampage Jackson and Tim Johnson. Okay, Omar, start us off here. Give us your assessment and your pick of Bader versus Fedor.
So, it is that 35-second loss is quite annoying to watch because Bader's striking is I hate it, right? So to watch him throw this ridiculous ass jab to knock down and eventually knock out Fedor is annoying. That can't happen again, right? Like we can't lose via jab a second time to the same man. So I'm going to assume this fight is going to go the way the first fight I ultimately thought would go. I do think Fedor has enough takedown defense to stop Ryan Bader's takedowns. I think Ryan Bader tries to implement speed and movement against Fedor more than power. I think that works all fine and well, but I do think that if Fedor catches Ryan Bader, I think Ryan Bader goes down like a sack of shit. So I'm going to go with Fedor KO round 2.
Wow,
I don't like Ryan Bader. I've explained this to you guys many a times.
That's true. That's true. All right, Bader's pretty big favorite. He is minus 340 to defend his title. Fedor is plus 260. Here we go, baby. My man Fedor, the legend, the heavyweight GOAT in my book, with a chance to walk off into the sunset as the Bellator heavyweight champion. And to be honest, I don't care that it's Bellator. I don't care that their heavyweight division is one of their weaker divisions. I don't care that it's against a career light heavyweight in Ryan Bader. If Fedor manages to pull this off and claim the Bellator heavyweight championship in his retirement fight at age 46, that's fucking awesome. And only enhances the heavyweight GOAT argument for Fedor. With all that said, it's a lot to ask. These two have fought once before, as we said. We all know what happened. 35-second TKO for Ryan Bader. And that was without Bader even using his wrestling. So the matchup is an uphill battle for Fedor for sure. As for the size, these guys match up pretty evenly, at least on paper. Bader's 2 inches taller, but Fedor has a 2-inch reach. Granted, now that Bader has committed to heavyweight and kind of said he's leaving light heavyweight in the past, I'm curious to see how heavy he comes in. I wonder if it's more than we've seen. I do think it's the right career move for him. I think heavyweight Bader seems to take shots way better. You don't see him wobbling on random shots the way he does at light heavyweight. So I don't know if it's something about having to cut and dehydrate himself, but he always seems to take shots way better at heavyweight. His speed helps him in this division. I think it's the right place for him at this point in his career. But at the same time, he's 39 years old. Like, he was 35 in the last fight. So 39 to 35 is a much older Ryan Bader. And, of course, Fedor is 46, which is ancient in MMA terms. But, like, he's been this version of himself for a while now. And he's kind of been doing fine with it and used to how he needs to fight. Like, Bader is a little newer to being older. Like, he's a little bit slower. He's a little bit less reactive. So I actually think that compared to their last fight, that Bader's aging is more of a significant factor than Fedor's aging, because I kind of view Fedor largely the same. And I do think he can get this done. Like, and obviously the books and the bettors think he's got a shot too, because I thought these lines could have been a lot wider, and it seems like Fedor is at least getting some respect. So I like to see that. And the man's hand speed is still there, and his power's still there. Like, that combo that he just knocked out Tim Johnson with in his last fight was fucking chef's kiss, legendary prime hand speed from Fedor, which was always one of his best weapons. The danger is absolutely still there. And Ryan Bader is absolutely still a guy who can be timed and can be clipped. Can Bader KO Fedor again? Sure. His chin is not what it once was. That's for sure. Can Bader come out and wrestle fuck Fedor? Yeah, I think maybe he can. And to be honest, I think he probably should. Not saying that's like a route to definitive victory, because we all know the judo and the scrambling of Fedor. So it would be interesting to see, what magic he still has in those hips at 46 years old. But I do think the smart path is for Bader to just come out and wrestle a lot. But if you've ever watched this show, you know what I'm picking, and it ain't that. Bader comes out, he's too comfortable, he wants another knockout, and he gets fucking comboed into next week. First round knockout, the champion now and forever, Fedor, the last emperor, Emelianenko. And by pure chance, I just realized as we were, an hour into this show, that I didn't have my Pride hat to say Pride Never Die for Fedor, but I fucking have on a Pride t-shirt, Pride Never Die.
Well, so you said Fedor knockout?
Round one.
Round one. Omar, what'd you say?
I had Fedor knocking out round 2, I believe.
Okay, this is one where I'm not going to pick with my heart. And I'm going to pick with my head. Fedor is too old. I know that he is 46 years old. I know this is something I know. Or at least it's something that I've read on the internet and I trust it. I think Bader has too many ways to win over Fedor at this point in Fedor's career. If this was 10, 15 years ago, oh my God, I would be, doing the sign of the cross and praying for Ryan Bader. At this point, I mean, Bader, I keep second guessing myself. Bader is no spring chicken himself either at 39 years old. But at this point in their careers and their recent bodies of work, I'm going to go with Ryan Bader. I'm going to go with Ryan Bader by TKO, because if Fedor is going to lose, that's how he's going to lose. So I will say that it's not going to be a 30-second loss again, but I will say that Bader is going to knock out Fedor towards the end of round number 1. But Emelianenko is still going to get a standing ovation by everybody in that arena.
Well, let's hope he doesn't get glovered.
What? Everybody leaves?
Fucking rude, fucking Brazil. Like, I get it. They were in their bag. Both of their champions walked away with nothing. So I get it. They were upset. But real dick move there. Y'all knew Glover was going to retire. We all knew it.
Yeah, nobody commented from Brazil to explain. I wanted some comments.
Well, boys.
I should mention as well, real quick, Ryan Bader knocked out Fedor with a left hook, not a left jab. So I just want to make that little correction there.
I just messaged you guys in our chat the rankings averages for our women's.
How'd you do it?
I just did it real quick.
Yeah, but we didn't. We would have to say where we ranked our honorable mention people to figure it out.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I just kind of threw a random.
Oh, you just gave them all 11s?
I gave Carla a 12 for somebody. I don't know why.
Okay. I mean, it's still interesting to see. So you were doing this while we were doing the show? Damn, you're not paying attention to the show.
Just real quick. Did it multitask.
Interesting. Like it. That's cool.
Fedor, if there's one thing Fedor needs to do in this fight that he didn't do in his last fight, he needs to put his fucking hands up. This thing where he walks around with like bare hands.
He ain't doing that.
Dude, he always does, man. His hands are at his fucking hips. Always.
I get it, but that's why he lost to Ryan Bader in the first round.
It's because they're so fast. But yeah, now they're not quite as fast as they once were.
I need him to actually look like he's trying to block something. Something. You can't let homeboy keep touching your chin like that if your chin's gonna just snap back and forth. So hopefully he does a little bit more hands up, because I know that like old man shit is what he does, but We need him a little bit tighter.